Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the local review body of the 14th of September. I can confirm the meeting has been properly called and is quorate. Can I please firstly ask members to appoint a chairman for the meeting, please?
Could I put forward Ian Carruthers as chair of this committee?
I don't mind, Chair. It's been a while since I've done it, but I'm sure the rust will fall off as I go forward.
Councillor Carruthers then, thank you.
Hopefully this is working okay. Well, the rust will fall off as we go forward. It's been a while since I've been in one of these, so I thought I'd better just come and remind myself what it's like to be in the local review body. Doing the plan and stuff, but it's been a wee while, so I thought I'd better get myself back up to speed. Thanks very much for giving me the chance to chair this meeting today. It's much appreciated by the committee. So let's get to item number 1, which is we've got I think it'll be Sederunt and Apologies when I get there. Appointment of chairman. Sorry, item number 2, Sederunt and Apologies. Claire, have you got them?
Yes,
I think we're full house, but it looks it.
Yes, correct, Chair. 5 members present, no apologies.
Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest? None put forward, so that's none. Oh, Jim, no, go on. Mr. McComb.
Simply to note that I know the agent in the second application. She is involved in many planning matters in the Machars. But the relationship is not close enough for me to withdraw.
Okay, Claire, have you got that?
Yeah, just for clarity, when you say second application, is that actually item 6? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
The second application we will be hearing this morning.
Okay, but it looks like it's item number 5 then, Jim. 6, sorry, is it? No, the second one's 5. Oh, sorry, I've not seen. No, I got to that point yet. Sorry. Okay, right, the second one. Claire, do you want to outline the process? Is that the next stage?
Yes, if you're happy, I'll take you through the papers for the first item. I can advise you, preempted by the discussion there, that item 5 on today's agenda has been withdrawn at the request of the applicant. Therefore, we've now got 2 notices of review for consideration at this meeting now, rather than the 3. The first item being item 4, land adjacent to Burn Cottage, WESTERKIRK, LANGHOLM, refusal of planning permission for erection of dwelling house and installation of septic tank and soakaway. The usual papers and documents in your papers, being notice of review, the report on handling, observations of the appointed officer, comments of the applicant on the observations of the appointed officer. You've got the relevant planning application form and associated documents, the decision letter, the relevant extracts from the LDP and photos of the application site and locality. The grounds of refusal in this case are on page 277 to 278 of your documents. It has not been satisfactorily demonstrated that a new house at this location is essential for the needs of the agricultural operations of the farming business, and that none of the other housing in the countryside opportunities are available, and accordingly the proposal is contrary to the policy of the Council as stated in Local Development Plan Policy H3 and to national policy as set out in Scottish Planning Policy, which permit the erection of new houses in the countryside only in special circumstances identified in development plans, and none of these circumstances apply in this case. 2. The proposal is contrary to the policy of the Council as stated in the Local Development Plan Policy OP2 and associated supplementary guidance on design quality of new development, and that the design of the proposed house fails to contribute positively to the sense of place and local distinctiveness of the surrounding area. And 3. The proposal is contrary to the policy of the Council as stated in Local Development Plan Policy IN7 and associated supplementary guidance, flooding and development, and to national policy as set out in the Scottish Planning Policy, in that it has not been demonstrated that a main access and egress route to the application site is not at risk of flooding in a 1 in 100 year flood event on the fluvial floodplain, and as a result, the proposed development of the proposed dwelling house may place potential occupants and rescuers at risk. The requested method of determination in the notice of review papers are that the applicant has requested that a review be dealt with on the basis of further written submissions, on the basis of one or more hearing sessions, and by means of an inspection of the land which is subject to review. So the grounds stated in the notice of review are, in summary, that flooding has not been an issue in the past 50 years, and this is exceptionally unlikely, as it can be seen by mapping and as would be seen if a site visit were to be undertaken as requested. At the time of the pre-application inquiries, every indication was that it would be favourably considered, and nothing has changed in the intervening period. If a letter dated the 22nd of November 2016 refers to this. The building design was also considered favourably. The building design has been chosen to sit well within its farming surroundings. Good farming practice necessitates 24/7 monitoring of livestock, and a well-sited manager's/owner's house would add to good husbandry and farming practice. And security is vital in remoter agricultural holdings, and there have been sheep thefts from this farm, due in part to the farm being readily accessible by the WHIN farm road. Farm security and general good management with the farming business would be seen if a site visit were undertaken as requested. There's also been no objections to the proposals from the public. We've got further comments from the interested parties, the relevant development plan policies in this case, so that the main issues for the LRB to consider: does the proposal conform with the relevant development plan policies? In particular, has it been demonstrated that a new dwelling house at this location is essential for the needs of the associated agricultural operations of the farming business as required by the virtue of LDP Policy H3 and the associated supplementary planning guidance on housing in the countryside? Further, does the proposal accord with the terms of LDP Policy OP2 and the associated supplementary planning guidance on housing in the countryside and the design quality of new development, which amongst a range of other matters require new dwelling houses in the countryside to contribute positively to the sense of place and local distinctiveness found in the given area and the surrounding application site? Would the proposal conform with LD Policy IN7 and the associated supplementary guidance on flooding? And if not, are there any material considerations which indicate that planning permission should be granted to the contrary? For example, what weight should be given to the pre-application advice provided, and does it indicate unqualified support? Does the stated reasoning in relation to security and supervision provide some weight to justify a departure from terms of the development plan? So I've now outlined the documents within your papers for this item. It falls to the LRB to determine, firstly, whether it has sufficient information to consider the review. It's confirmed that there's no representations from any party held today. The LRB, for this case and the following case, has the following options. It can decide it has sufficient information before it to enable it to determine the review today. It can request further information in form of written representations. If you were doing this, you'd need to state precisely what information you were seeking and who would provide it. Resolve to hold a hearing, again specifying who would be invited to speak and on what matters. Resolve to hold a site visit, accompanied or unaccompanied. And this can be done in conjunction with any of the above, but would obviously not allow a decision to be made today. And if the local review body resolves it has sufficient information and that no further procedure is required, then you have the full powers to uphold, reverse or vary a determination. The decision will include a statement of the terms which the planning authority has decided the case reviewed. You have a planning advisor present here at your meeting. He's here to assist for both items. It's confirmed he has not had any involvement in the cases and was not the case officer or the appointed officer for either of the applications. He is here purely to provide independent advice as needed on matters of planning policy, law or process to the local review body. So if members are clear and no further clarification is required, I'll ask your chairman now to lead the debate, in the first instance to lead the local review body through the agenda papers together so you can decide if you have sufficient information before you make a determination.
Thank you, Claire. The members, I think are quite clear. I think the first thing we have to do before we do anything in regards to a determination on this, in regards to this review, I'm looking at three of the points, Claire, that you raised here, and what's being asked is The applicant has requested the review to be dealt with, firstly on the basis of a further written submissions, secondly on the basis of one or more hearing sessions, and thirdly by the means of an inspection of the land which is subject to the review. I suppose that's the 3 points what will be focused in our mind. Personally I'm aligned to 1 and 3, maybe not so much 2, depending on the debate within the room here today at this committee. But I think 1 and 3 are very relevant. Site visit, which is part 3, to what you've just said, Claire, and I think that's very relevant because of the contrast between, I think, the applicant's view and the planning officer's view, the floods, the flooding issue that have been raised, when saying this, listen, this house is 40 metres above any potential flood risk, but there's a flood risk map. It looks like, certainly, it says actually you're within a flood zone. So in order to be able to see that, they're talking about security, being able to see that visually from the house. I don't know how we could, I think that'd be difficult to determine via pictures here today. The further written submissions, I would imagine. I mean, I've got a real question in regards to when it comes to both C&D Rural and Scottish National Farmers Union. I didn't pick up on it completely, but certainly there was a conflict between the amount of labour units required, between what the case officer thought, and I think the Scottish National Farmers Union in particular. I thought that has to be absolutely bottomed out. I've seen that on more than one occasion, and I find it difficult to go. I'd really like to bottom that and get that clarified. So personally, there's a number of other things. It's not just for me to talk. I'm just here to obviously to chair this meeting in particular, but I think there's enough reasons to defer the decision from it today. Firstly, for the sake of a site visit, and secondly, I think we certainly should have further written submissions in regards to certain parts of the report that's been put in front of us as to review. But open to other members' views, obviously. I'm just here to chair this. I've explained my view in the first instance after reading this. So it's open to members. Anybody? Doug?
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to echo that sentiment as well, 1 and 3. I think more so 3 as well, because I think because of the complexity of all the information we have in here, and there's certain angles pointing towards favourably this site going ahead, and as far as a security point of view is concerned, I think actually a physical presence on site opposed to CCTV would be quite a positive thing. But I think because we need to see firsthand the kind of geographical layout of this site, I think a site visit would be in order on this occasion.
Can I ask you what page you're talking about on paragraphs 1 and 3, please? And could we see the photographs, please, before we go any further?
Absolutely, Joe. It's in the clerk's notes, but if you look at the page number, I can find it for you, Joe, but it's certainly, you've got it here, it's page 8, and it's contained within the application for the review. So it's the first box. So you come down, so you've got the review procedure. You can down at the middle of that page, you've got a box there, and it's in handwriting, Jock. So for the and you've got your 3 reasons, but really it is contained within the report as you go right through the whole thing as well. It kind of sets that out, but I mean, I think more than happy, unless we've got a view now that actually we do need a site visit, and we do need further clarification on certain points, but more than happy to look at the photos to see if that adds any benefit before we actually make that decision. Joe?
Well, I think on item 1 at the time of pre-application inquiries, if you read the planner's letter, it explains that this is only a desktop advice, and it's not done. You're at page 14. You'll appreciate this correspondence constitutes advice only and is made without prejudice to any decision which the Council as planning authority may choose to make in respect of any future planning application. Furthermore, this is a desktop assessment of planning policy only. No site visit has been carried out and no consultations have been undertaken. So I think, without being cheeky to the applicants, I think they've misunderstood the letter from the planning officer on the tabletop exercise as to what they're asking for. So I'd be kind of concerned that we go with the applicant's statement rather and then consider the reply from the planning officer.
I suppose from my perspective, Joe, I could probably take that completely away, that actual thing, and that was a pre-application, and it is its standard. It's a desktop exercise. There's no site visits, and it aligns to the policy and subject to meeting with certainly the case officer, plan official at the time, feels their interpretation of that particular policy and how it applies, or the number of policies contained within the local development plan. It's the number of my arguments contained within the report. It's numerous documents that have been submitted, not just the one, not that letter by any means. I think that's kind of carte blanche, Jock, when it comes to it. But any other members got any other views?
Thank you, Chair. It was quite interesting to hear your review points. I found this a very interesting application because I was torn one way then torn the other, and I spent an awful lot of time reading it. It seems to boil down to whether this development is essential for the proper functioning of the farm. And I also noticed there's been issues with crime and theft and damage to property. So I'd agree with you that I think a site visit would be very useful in this situation to help us firm up our opinions.
Thanks for that, John. Jim?
Of flooding. I have had a careful look at the map, and from my perusal, I can't actually see where the flooding issue arises. So I would say it would be necessary to look at the site. That the issue of the applicant's perception of what was stated in the letter, that could be resolved here. But the outstanding issue of flooding, I think, makes it necessary to have a site visit.
No, that's good. I suppose then, Claire, I mean, that's pretty much the decision made in regards to the views. I'll be absolutely clear, there's a number of things, I'll just try and rehearse in my head without going back to my list, but there was about site security. So it was the actual site location, where it was being adopted, proposed, sorry. So certain comments were saying, listen, that was an ideal site location for the sake of safety and such like. There was actually reference, I think, from the case officer said actually there could have been other buildings being used rather than a new building. So I just want to make sure, unless we've got enough flexibility there was flooding issues, there was the access, there was the site security in particular. But there's a whole raft of things there. So long as we know that when we get there, if any questions come up, we're flexible enough that we can actually react to them rather than say, okay, this is only what we're looking at. Sometimes we kind of get that plan application. So if we're flexible enough, because there's a whole raft of things that I think we need to be absolutely clear in our own minds, which is around about flood, site location, site security, and actual the sustainable business, how that moves on, the benefits, because there was again a number of things said that the case officer seemed to, my interpretation, seemed to think that being applied for was only for residential use. But actually, when you read through the whole report, it's quite clear it was for a mixture, it was residential use, but actually there'd be benefits in regards to bed and breakfast, so to speak, that could be used that would benefit the financial sustainability and viability of the business as well. So I think if we're deferring for a site visit, further information, I think that's, so long as we're flexible enough, I'm quite happy with that. Otherwise, I'd just go through the list and name everything at this point in time. But Robert?
Chair, just a bit of guidance, hopefully that's helpful. Obviously, firstly, you're deciding if you've got sufficient information in front of you today to conclude the review, and obviously, from the sounds of it, the majority don't feel that's the case. So, going forward as a process, we would issue what's called a procedure notice, which is basically a letter notifying all the relevant parties, the applicant and anyone else with an interest in the case, including consultees, that we would then proceed to hold a site visit. You would need to be clear in your reasons why you're holding the site visit, what it is you want to get from that. With regard to the extra information, again, we would serve a procedure notice to relevant parties, and that would set out the request for the extra information you're looking for. But we need to be, you need to be quite clear on what it is you're looking for and why you're looking for extra written information. In addition to doing the site visit, it just helps us prepare the notices and target them appropriately. I don't know if you've got any further thoughts on what extra written information you're looking for as well.
And as far as, so we agreed the site visit, so the other part was on the basis of further written submissions. I think one of the things there's 2 points really for myself that I would like to get more clarification on. Second one I would say was really about the flood risk assessment. I mean, I think it'd be onerous to ask for a flood risk assessment to be undertaken at this point, but I think in regards to going forward, it would be a site visit, you could actually see it, so you could see levels, finished flow levels, site location, where the potential threat is from flood and how the access, how that works. But I think there should be further written submissions, certainly in regards to any further comments for, in particular, the applicant, because there was reference to the house maybe being perceived to be back to front as well, so was the access in the right bit, but anything they can add to the potential flood, people who are living there and again, so that they know that site inside out. I'd be very keen to see that. The location and the security as well, I think. And in fact, for myself as well, we're going back to what I was just saying earlier, but there's reference in the report talking about there could be other houses used in particular, could be used for this purpose. And again, I think there should be as much evidence submitted in regards to why they think that's not the case. I didn't see it unless I missed it, but I didn't actually see the full report for the Scottish National Farmers Union, or is it C&D Rural. I think there's reference made to in the previous application. There was a submission saying this is actually bolsters and it emphasises the previous one, but I didn't actually see the original one. So I think that to see the original one as well would have made much more sense to me. It would have given me more information. Joe?
Fine. You read the papers, the floodings know about the house. It's about the access to the house and the risk to people if they can't be got out there. And that was the as far as I could read and reading the papers, that's where the flooding was coming in. And that is a difficulty. And there's two houses on the site, and my understanding is they're both rented out, so they can't get to them. And they're wanting to build an additional house. I think it's a typical application where people want to build new houses for one reason or another, without they really got justification. Their existing house, as far as I can make out, is on the edge of the site as at the present moment. And the house they're wanting to build is got to be blinded for full sight of the actual farm by trees. So the justification for that house on that place doesn't seem to be appropriate. If they're wanting to access to see the farm, which I understand they can see from where they are at the present moment, they're going to reduce the site of the farm by going to this new site. So I don't know,
I understand what you're saying there, Joe, but I think there's a conflict as well. That if you read the officer's report, that's exactly what it says. But if you read the applicant's version of what they see that being the case, I think it's the opposite. They're saying there's difference, and that's why I think it's good to have a site visit. We can actually get a clear understanding of what actually has been applied for, and the arguments or potential further information, I should say, that can be applied. Jim?
Chair, that I think is another factor. How visible is the steading from the site? There's a mention there of intervening trees, but you'd actually need to be in the ground to know whether the trees block the view.
That was one of the points again. That's why I'll talk about site and security, was just because that's one of the reasons for it, and one of the reasons for refusal thing, but one of the reasons for it saying that it would add site security for the farm holding itself in the back of the thefts and potential thefts and crime disorder that could actually still be going on in that area. There's been new access roads for the wind farms. It seems like it's helped to create that, but again, there's nothing like being on site and actually be able to look, well, that's that house there, we're referring to there, here's the access. And one of the points with the flooding, Jock, I think was quite clear that there can be mitigation put in order, whether it's a road, the profile of a road being raised or whatever, it could be conditioned, or a full flood risk assessment, but that would be for us to consider at the time, at the point of determining whether we agree with the case officer or we'd come to a different view or not. But I suppose when it comes to written submission, we're probably at a point in time where we're kind of going back, but if we've agreed, maybe we should go forward and just agree we'll have a site visit and then we'll move on from there to its absolute. Can we agree we'll have a site visit? Is anybody against that? So we're fine. So we've agreed that. So that's the first point. So procedure, we'll go on a site visit. So the second part, I think we'll try to pick up in the back of that, is the reasons why and the piece of information we're looking for. John?
Once again, thank you, Chair. If you look at the refusal letter, which was sent on the 23rd of May on page 278, there's 3 reasons given for refusal. The third one is the 1 in 100-year concern regarding flooding, which a site visit will help us look at, but 1 in 100-year, I think, is an acceptable flooding risk to my mind. The second reason for refusal is it's the design of the proposed house fails to contribute positively to the sense of place. I've always found that a difficult one because that's purely subjective. However, the first one is the key one for me, the justification that it needs this development in regard of supporting the agricultural operations. I would like us to dig a wee bit further into that and just have a proper justification of this development in terms of the agricultural needs of the farm.
I feel very much the same, and I suppose that's where I'm... Sorry, Robert, go on.
I was just going to say, Chair, if it's helpful to the local review body, you could decide at this meeting you don't have enough information to determine the case today. You want to go on a site visit, and obviously you're discussing the reasons for that, which makes it clear. You're not obliged at this stage to request further written information. You could defer that until after the site visit. So if you want to go on a site visit for a variety of reasons and you do that, you can then reassemble, and then you're obviously deciding at that stage, do you have enough information to determine the case? If you feel you need written information at that next meeting, then you can make a further request to the relevant parties. I don't know if that helps. You don't need to request it all at one time.
That sounds like a good suggestion. I mean, I suppose if I didn't have the time with the volume of work, I would have referenced back the 17 application, but I ran out of time. That's how it was for me. So I would have found a big chunk of that information was missing for me. So the full argument, I would say, from the applicant via, I think it's either C&D Rural or Scottish National Farmers Union, I would have seen that, but I just didn't have the chance. So it may well be something that could see kind of just intuitively ourselves between then and now. I'm quite happy with Robert's suggestion. Are we okay with that? So just defer for a site visit, and then any further written submissions, if we feel they are appropriate, we'll determine that at the next meeting. Okay with that? Okay, got that clear?
For clarity, Chair, then you're agreeing to basically adjourn consideration of this item pending the completion of a site visit. The site visit would be, suggesting an accompanied site visit where you're all together as a group, accompanied with the self and the advisor, and invite to the applicant.
What we will do following the meeting is we'll issue a procedure notice to all relevant parties, letting them know that you're undertaking a site visit. There will also be a summary of the reasons why, so we'll be looking at things to understand the flooding issue, how visible the steading is from the site, looking at biosecurity issues, animal welfare, intervisibility, things like that, a better understanding of the setting of the building to see whether it's representative of local designs and issues like that, and whether or not the principle of the development could be supported or not. So your site visit is really to try and look at issues like that and get a better understanding of that before you proceed to determine whether or not you've got enough information after it to then proceed to determine the case.
Yeah, just another minor detail is we need to know where the existing house is with regards to the overlooking the farmland.
I think that's very important, Jock. So we see the whole context, the whole farm. I think it's talking about 1,500 acres, so we understand the size of the size and scale of the business, and potentially how it operates in that particular threat of. Well, I think there's 2 points. You've got the security, but I think John's picked up in the nub of it. Actually, is that labour unit requirement appropriate or not? But I think that's why that further evidence for me is important. It seems to be on a farm of that size, 1,500 acre. So are we okay with that? You okay with that, Robert? Any further?
The only other thing I was going to say, we obviously need to try and find a date that's suitable for members' diaries and also suitable to the applicant, so I can't give any guidance on that at this point in time, but we'll try and find something as soon as we can.
Excellent. Sure, we'll get something organised. Just in regards to procedural, I think in LRB is different from the plan application. I think we all have to be there, is that right?
Yes.
Aye, we do. Do you want to just clarify that?
Yeah, to make it clear, you'd be able to take part in when this meeting would reconvene, you'd have to partake in the site visit.
I just thought I'd mention that because it's easy to follow the rules, but we would normally apply in our normal day-to-day dealings with the plan applications. So you've captured that?
Yeah.
Excellent. Item number 5, I think it is now.
Yeah,
So item number 6, which is, from what I can see, 64 Main Street. Are you wanting to?
Yeah.
Right, Claire?
Okay. Okay, again, I'll take you through this. Item 6, 64 Main Street, Isle of Whithorn. Refusal of planning permission for replacement of 8 sash and case timber windows with 8 UPVC double glazed sash and case windows. Again, you've got the documents in your papers, a notice of review, report and handling, observations of appointed officer, planning application form, decision letter, relevant extracts from the LDP, and the photos of the application site and locality. The grounds of refusal in this case are on page 573 of your papers. The proposed windows are contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan policies HE1, HE2, OP1 and OP2 on the grounds that the use of modern UPVC windows are unsympathetic and damaging to the historic character and appearance of the Category C listed building and to the character of this building within the wider setting of the Isle of Whithorn Conservation Area. The requested method of determination is, in this case, the applicant has requested that the review be dealt with by means of an inspection of the land to which the review relates. The grounds and the notice of review are in summary. Dumfries and Galloway planning policies are contradictory as the stated requirement for allowing buildings to be adapted to improve resilience to climate change and to reduce energy is encouraged, but UPVC windows will not be considered as acceptable in listed buildings. The design of heritage UPVC windows are indistinguishable to the eye and do not damage the historical context of the building, but would provide an economical and thermally efficient modern solution and should be considered. The applicant feels strongly that the proposed sliding sash and case UPVC windows are within keeping of the historical context and the building. The frame size and the placement within the window surrounds would not be detrimental to the listed building. It would be difficult to know that they are UPVC. The hostile environment in which the house is located requires a material that can withstand the elements to provide a well-fitted, draft-proof, thermally efficient seal. Many nearby properties are falling into a state of neglect and have already replaced their windows with UPVC. The proposed sliding sash and case window systems are already being improved in the conservation areas and have been granted in listed buildings elsewhere in the country. They have recently been successfully approved and fitted in a house in George Street, Whithorn, within the conservation area. It should be acceptable in Grade C listed building on the same streets in nearby towns and villages, especially when it is the owner's only practical and economical choice of window system. The current double glazed window system installed in 2002 is not fit for purpose. The proposed sliding sash and case window system would be a cost-effective and efficient solution for the applicant in a difficult location, but would be sympathetic to the building facade and the appearance of the existing 1/1 window type. The adopted supplementary guidance document on the historical environment published by the Council provides that one of the key principles to support the adaptation of buildings to improve resilience to climate change and to reduce energy use, recognising that methods of construction and materials have developed. By allowing more modern materials to be utilised in a style sympathetic to the building, ensures its future use and therefore its contribution to the overall context of the locality. You've got the further comments by interested parties, the relevant development plan policies, and so the main issues for the local review body to consider are: does the proposal conform with the relevant development plan policies HE1, HE2, OP1 and OP2? In particular, would the proposed windows be unsympathetic and damaging to the historic character and appearance of this Category C listed building in comparison with the existing windows? Further, would the proposed windows be unsympathetic and damaging to the character of the building within the wider setting of the Isle of Whithorn Conservation Area? And if the proposal is considered not to comply with the terms of the development plan, are there any material considerations which would indicate that planning permission should be granted to the contrary? So again, having outlined the papers, I'll pass you to the chair to take you through the papers.
Robert, you first.
It's just a minor note. It doesn't affect your process today at all, but with it being a listed building, there was a listed building consent application that was also reviewed. Because of slight anomalies in present legislation, that's now been considered by the Scottish Ministers. It's their Department of Planning and Environmental Appeals. As I understand it, I was updated this week, there hasn't been a decision on that appeal at this point in time, but that has absolutely no bearing on how you proceed at this meeting today. So you're free to consider this case, regardless. What will happen is I will make sure that the outcome of today's meeting, whatever that may be, will be reported back to the reporter that's dealing with the appeal, so they've got full information in front of them.
So I think as per the previous process, first thing we have to do is determine, do we have enough information today to actually determine this, or do we, we actually alluded to it with the last one, we didn't get to that stage because people came in and said actually we'd like a site visit for various reasons, but do we want to have a look at the photos first and then come back to that? Okay with that? Yep. Who's yourself, Robert? We'll have a wee look at them, everybody's nodding their heads. Jim?
Could Robert confirm that our LDP does not say that UPVC windows are unacceptable? That in certain circumstances they have been accepted in the past.
Chair, my response to that, if you look at the paper copy, page 581, policy HE1 covers listed buildings. This is obviously a listed building. So that policy is applicable. It doesn't mention window materials specifically. What it says, in considering development that impacts on the character or appearance of a listed building or its setting, the council will need to be satisfied that proposals to alter a listed building, in this case, respect the appearance, character and architectural features which contribute to its listing, and do not seek to overwhelm or otherwise damage its original character and appearance. The next bullet point down in relation to materials, which is what you're asking about here, says the materials shown in any development proposal are appropriate to the character and appearance of the listed building and its setting. So that is relevant. You've also got, it's within the Isle of WHITHORN, which is an outstanding conservation area, so you've got policy HE2 that appears on page 582, which is of relevance too. And again, it's about trying to preserve or enhance the character and appearance of the area. So that's really your key judgment call. There's nothing as simplistic as to say you can't put UPVC windows in. You've got to make a judgment call in each case relative to character and appearance of both conservation area, the building itself and the fact it's listed. 2, you can dig down, there's design quality of new development supplementary guidance, and there's also the historic environment supplementary guidance that appear in the papers, as well as alterations and extensions to houses. But there's nothing that simplistically prohibits a particular material in that guidance document. It is very much a judgment call.
So the essential point is that it be sympathetic to the building. That there is no specification of material.
Robert?
It's really the building itself, yes, and also the context, so the surrounding conservation area and the other buildings and just the street scene, the interplay generally. Yeah.
Do you want to just go through the pictures, Robert? We'll just skim through these and have a wee look.
Thanks, Chair. These replicate the pictures you have in the papers in front of you. Just try and find the right page number, starting on page 711. So this is a view, 64 Main Street. You have the existing front elevation of that building. 2-storey, 3-bay terrace dwelling house. And then you have the existing rear elevation of the same property. So what you're looking at here, I think what stands out, you've got different window types. You've got the dormer, slightly different to the two-part, looks like sash and case window there. Single light window there, and then you've got a top hopper opening window down there. So there's quite a variety in the rear elevation. And again, that's probably fairly characteristic of the area. You've got top hopper window there, sash and case window at the higher level that's more visible over a distance. Then you've got a kind of sun porch type extension to the rear of that building. And that's just a closer view of that sun porch I was talking about. So it demonstrates there is a bit of variety on the rear of that building as opposed to the front, which is quite cohesive. Apologies, Chair. This is an internal view of the windows. So as I understand it, this is it's obviously on the ground floor. This is looking out from the main elevation of the building. So this is really the key part in the public domain. It's facing, I think, westerly from this location, looking towards the harbour. You've got another window. You can see it's the same type, but it's timber, two-part sash and case window. It's also got horns on it, the features you can see just above the meeting rail. And again, you can see this is looking out towards the harbour, so broadly in a westerly direction. Similar viewpoint, another window at ground floor level, and that's in timber, sliding sash and case. They're referenced in the report. I think they were installed either 2001 or 2002, around about that time. Another view, very similar type of window. This is now up on the upper story, so the first floor, and it's looking out to the rear of the building. You can see the neighbouring garden sheds in the walls there. So this is looking out towards Lake Isle direction, so pretty much eastwards. And that's another view. You can see the rear garden area there. It's slightly unusual, obviously. You've got a peninsula type character to this area, so you've got the sea on both sides at certain locations, and this is one of them. That's a very similar picture to the previous one. It gives you an idea of the windows. Aerial view of the site. The red marker indicates the property. So that's looking down. It's probably more west-southwest than west, but that's looking towards the main harbour at the Isle of Whithorn. You've got the church building there. And then when you looked at the rear garden area, surrounded by the wall with a few outbuildings, that's looking kind of east-northeast. You can see how coastal that location is. Then you come down to the Isle proper with the lighthouse and everything else and the steam packet in, etc. down here.
Thank you very much, Robert. That concludes the photographs as per contained within the report. So I suppose to come back to the point, do we think we need, we've been asked for a site visit, do we think we need that, or do you think we've got enough information to determine this today? John?
Thank you, Chair. I think we have sufficient information to make a determination today.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Doug?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm just looking at this as well. I know where Robert's coming from, Jim's coming from. I think that has been used within the Dumfries area, I believe, in this place. I think the lantern that had windows installed there that were UPVC, that were in keeping with the kind of local heritage area. And I think also that comment here is saying that detrimental to the listed building status of the property, and I believe there's places in North Yorkshire that have used this as well. I think we should probably look at supporting anything that's going to be sympathetic to enhance the area.
I suppose we're just at this point, all we're looking at is, should we have a site visit or just determine it today? And
Sorry,
so,
right, okay, yeah.
So John's, he's okay determined today? He's similar? Anybody else against that? We've got enough information, do we think, just to? We've got enough information, okay, we'll go on, we'll proceed. So it's how then do we proceed in as far as going through the report? There's numerous ways in which to deal with this, I think. Keep me right, Clark, if I'm wrong, but I think we can go through it, say, a section at a time. And if anybody's got any points, they can pick them up. And I think probably the most straightforward way is let me find my place in the report. See where I am. I think that'll be the most straightforward way. It gives everybody a chance just to pick up. So on page 441, for what I can see is, oh, no, that's the wrong one, sorry, I'm at the wrong one, sorry. Right, 509. Thanks, Joe. I've not got them out. Excellent, first class, thank you. I've got them here then, I'll leave you with them. I've got them. Right, and let's go to 509. Here we go. Right. So notice of review, dated 10th of July 2018, 509 to 525. We've got any particular points you'd like to pick up in regards to that section? I think, Jock, go on.
I think if Robert said, that the wooden windows are fitted in 2002, that's 16 years. It's not very long for windows. the question I would ask, do they do any maintenance on them? And is there anyone manufacturers wooden windows that would be draft proof and all that sort of thing, and would take double glazing as well?
To the best of my knowledge, given it's a two-part sash and case window, yes, as I understand it, you do get manufacturers that will produce a timber frame double glazed window of those dimensions that you would need in that property. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, a timber double glazed window would be a possibility, but obviously what we're looking at in this application is whether or not a UPVC window is acceptable as a substitute for the ones that were previously installed.
Pages 527 to 544, which is a report on handling and related correspondence. Give you a chance just to refresh themselves. Nobody's jumping up and down. Next section is section 3, observations of appointed officer and the applicant's notice of review. Further comments from a representative. That's from pages 545 to 549. Give you a wee chance to catch up with them. See if there's any particular points that anybody wants to raise. Nope. Section 4, plan application form submitted on the 20th of February this year. Associated plans and support information, that's page 551 to 567. John?
Thank you, Chair. I think on page 565, with it's obvious the problem that condensation on the inside of the window is running down and then lifting the paint along the top of the bottom part of the window. I mean, I lived in a house very, very similar to this at one time, and no matter how often you painted, undercoated, a year later it needed done again due to condensation running down the inside of the window.
Comments noted, I think, there. I think we've all been there. You get that, so you get the ice in the winter, isn't it? In the inside of the house, not the outside. That was Jim?
I think also we should bear in mind some of these windows have been paint sealed because the weather conditions down there are so extreme. Jock was mentioning only 16 years lifetime from these windows. Well, that is indicative of just how extreme the weather conditions are, and the very, very salty air which is coming in from both directions.
Yep, I've experienced that as well. It's these the climate in that neck of the woods is completely different for here, a few miles even inshore, I think. Item number 5, decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council, dated 12th April this year. That's 569 to 576. George, yep.
Have the planners seen the type of window this applicants want to put in? Is there much difference in thickness of the side panels and all that sort of thing? Sometimes you get UPVC and they were quite heavy, quite different from the wood. I must say these ones, what they're proposing here, looks pretty good in size comparison. But unless you actually can actually do it yourself, you can't be sure.
So can I look for information in regards to the dimensions comparable to what's already existing?
Aye.
Do we have anything in that regard? I mean, my own personal experience, it's usually pretty similar. But it's, I mean, they're quite robust. I mean, timber's quite robust because of the type of material, and quite often PVC or UPVC can be made slightly lighter because its strength and it's Robert. Is there anything there?
Chair, if it helps at all, my understanding is that the dimensions of the window are very similar, if not the same as existing. I think what's key really is if you look at page 517, which comes from the architect, if you look at the fourth paragraph on that page, it says, about the second sentence in addition, as the windows are 1/1, this also adds to the fact that UPVC would be indistinguishable as no dividing astragals are required. The horn can also be replicated to match the existing style, and the meeting rail styles, etc., are all similar size and profile. and then it's talking about other benefits of the proposed window. So on that basis, I think it's pretty much the same. I think the other thing that's key really, when I was looking at this and trying to understand the key reasoning for the decision, if you look at point 3 on page 547, so we're now looking at the appointed officer's comments, they're saying, whilst the design of the proposed replacement windows is noted to attempt to replicate the design of the original windows, i.e. sash and case, and I'm reading that as of very similar, almost indistinguishable dimensions, it is not a matter of visual assessment alone, which would be applied in assessing whether a proposal would affect the character of the listed building. What the appointed officer is saying is the assessment applied must also consider whether a different material would be considered to be harmful to the integrity of the listed building, as was the case in that instance. So what I'm reading for that is basically, it's not so much about the appearance. The appointed officer is concerned about the use of the UPVC material as affecting the, whether that affects the character of the building, if you like, where originally you would have got timber windows. So I don't think it's about the visual appearance. No, I think you're looking at something that's pretty much the same as is.
Very similar dimensions in regards to your question, Joe. Part 6 is relevant extracts from Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan, pages 577 to 708. Joe, yep.
The only thing with UPVC, it's too white. It always sticks out as against white paint. You can always identify the UPVC. That would be my concern with these windows. As I say, they look identical, but they're always whiter than white, if you like.
I suppose if we get through this part first, if there's any particular points, then when it comes to your argument, then we can actually hear every last word of that. So if it's nothing relating to part 6, section 6, between 577 and 708, the photos we've seen on the screen as well. Any other points that MD would like to pick up on the photos, which is 709 to 720? Luke?
Yeah, just to pick up on the point there, Chair. I think page 517, paragraph number 4, pretty much covers quite a lot of what we're talking about just now in regards to indistinguishable, heat loss, environmentally friendly, but the occupant of the house. So, yeah.
Well, thanks, Doug. So, nothing to do with the photographs at this moment in time. So, we'll go forward and really, I think it's time to open it up for debate. Like I say, the request for determination has been asked for. We've decided we've got enough information today. Robert, you got some points to add, though?
It was just something I think I should have probably brought to your attention. If you look at the pictures on page 519, you'll probably find those helpful. You've got an example on the right-hand side of the proposed new window, and on the bottom left, you've got the existing timber window at the property, so that gives you a visual comparison.
Well, that leads us right into debate in real terms, and we can actually go forward. We've been right through. We've got the bits clarified that we need. John, were you looking to come in there?
Just a couple of points. Obviously, you can't bore through a UPVC window and put an aerial cable through it. And regarding the two white, the owner would be free to decide what colour they wanted to paint a timber window. They could paint it bright pink, presumably.
I think there's usual conditions and such like, attached, especially in conservation areas. I suppose, I'll start the way. I've had a lot of conflict on Annan High Street in regards to its conservation area. Just an example from my own ward, it's away from WHITHORN completely. And I've actually been quite okay in the past in regards to PVC. One of the conversations I had with an applicant was come forward, a lot of debate, and it was at the rear of the house, not at the front of the house, at the rear of the building, I should say. It was a business premise. But what came out of that conversation was actually Edinburgh allow it. They actually allow this type of material. And to say that's a high level of conservation, that's in grade A as far as I'm aware. Not C. They actually allow this PVC, UPVC as a material. But this is obviously for us. We've got a guidance, we've agreed that, we've got supplementary guidance, so on and so forth, each case on its own merits and that. But Robert, were you wanting to come in on a point there? It looks as if you were.
Yes. It was about the painting of listed buildings. Very technically that needs consent, but being pragmatic, you're not going out chasing an application in the minute someone picks up their paintbrush. We've only ever really sought applications when someone has done something damaging or something raising a lot of public controversy or complaint. If they paint it, for example, purple with brown splodges, which happened in the distant past, you would then take action possibly on that basis. Most of the time, though, you're just going to allow people to paint listed buildings if it's, non-controversial. Yeah.
And I suppose what I've seen in the past as well, like a car bumper, you can paint PVC, you can paint plastic as well, and some people actually do. But whether it's an oak finish or a bright white or a timid yellow, somewhere in between, a kind of magnolia, there's all different types of material, colours that you can apply as well. So I suppose, I've got some sympathy in regards to this, but I'll open it up to yourselves as members of the committee. I've had experience in the past. I'm colour blind. Maybe that makes me a bit more sympathetic when it comes to looking at this type of thing. But from a distance, if you're standing I say 15 or 20 metres away, I find it difficult to distinguish whether it's a timber frame, a timber window, or actually a UPVC when you're actually there. And the thing about this, the pictures, it's a good example of what Robert's pointed us to on page 519, but they're no equidistant, are they? They're all different, and actually the UPVC is right on it, with the rest at a reasonable distance away. It'd be good to see them off in the same distance, just to see how comparable. Obviously, we're not having this is just an example, it's no about a site visit. So I'll open up to members. I've given my sympathetic view, you could say, but it's Doug.
Well, like yourself, I've actually stood right next to buildings that have got UPVC as opposed to the timber, and I've struggled to actually find a difference between the two forms. But I think anything that's going to enhance the area and the heritage, and sympathetic with the heritage, I think we should look at that favourably. That's my opinion.
Jock?
I'd be inclined to agree that we allow this, we pass this, subject to the planners seeing the proposed window frames before they're put in, so that they are the duplicate of what's in this picture. We're not wanting something with another couple inch wider framework or anything like that. It's got to fit in with what's there at the present moment. If it's the measurements are not correct, then they didn't fit them. I'd be inclined to move that. I don't know whether there is support for it or no, but it's a difficult one, and I can appreciate where you're coming from with moisture and all that sort of thing. You get that with double glazing too, though. Not just as bad, maybe. But I think we've got to move with the times, and subject to them fitting in with what's already there. And it's not a change of window frame, if you like, or window frame style. It's the same window frame style, same measurements and everything. I'd be inclined to accept it.
I'll just ask Robert for a wee bit of advice in regards to conditions. How would we condition if that was to go forward? So what I'm hearing Jock saying is that it's something almost like for like, but in obviously a different material, but you want it to be as sympathetic to the original existing what's there.
Absolutely.
So Robert, you what kind of outline you think might be an appropriate condition?
I'm thinking you might want to put a condition on that says that prior to the commencement of works on site, the applicant shall submit to the Council's Planning Authority a sample of the proposed window type to be installed for agreement in writing.
A physical sample.
A physical sample. So you basically get one made up and submit it. And then say, following agreement in writing with the Council's Planning Authority, the said window shall be installed on site in accordance with the details of the sample that was submitted. And then just put something at the end of it, say for the avoidance of doubt, the sample window shall replicate the details and dimensions of the existing window types at the property as closely as possible. And then basically, the applicant comes along with the window sample, submits it, it gets agreed in writing quickly, and then they can go out and install it in the property, and you've got a record in your file of exactly what was agreed and installed. So
and you've got a photograph of the actual measurements and all that sort of thing as well.
You would measure the sample, you'd take a photograph of it as well. Absolutely. So
I'd be inclined to move that.
Yeah. So a condition like that could certainly be imposed if you feel it's necessary.
So we could discuss that as we go forward, depending on what the view is, Jock. I've certainly got sympathy for it, like you're obviously alluding the same. It's the only small bit I've got about that, Robert, is the explicitness of when it's constructed. I don't know if you can get, unless they can get frame size, something similar, but I think you'd want to keep it within the same dimensions, as similar as possible, sympathetic.
This Sashin case, it's shown on page 519.
It looks...
That looks identical.
Like for like, yeah.
And that's what I would be looking for.
Aye. It'd be not worse if they paid 300 or 400 quid for a window, come and say, right, that's very similar.
Yeah.
And, oh no, we don't like that, what's someone else? Get
Aye.
me? So that's the only point I'm getting at. Robert?
I mean, what I'm reading from the submission is you are looking at something which, if it isn't identical, it's nigh on pretty much identical in terms of dimensions. So I've got a degree of confidence we wouldn't be sending them up on a wild goose chase, you know, and getting them to submit a window sample and then we would turn around and not agree it in writing. I mean, that would clearly be unreasonable.
Well, that's certainly what's on page 519 looks identical to the existing timber window next to it.
It does, it's a really good example.
Aye.
Any other members, Jim?
Chair, if the window is as illustrated on 519, I have no problem whatsoever with that. I really think we need to move with the times here. We have the technology, we have the materials to produce excellent windows which will allow ventilation, which will look similar to their predecessors. After all, we have moved in allowing double glazed windows, because originally these would be single pane windows. So I think we really need to get up to date with the improvements in technology, and these heritage style windows, to my mind, are perfectly acceptable.
Do anybody with a different view or even want to make comment? John, do you want to make comment?
Thanks, Chair. It's just really going back to paragraph 41517. These can be matched to the existing styles, etc., similar size and profile. Indistinguishable, there's no dividing, astraggles are required. So basically they're saying they can replicate that window exactly colour and form. Chair.
First class then. I suppose then, Claire, Jock, sorry Jock.
Cut in. We've got to have the comfort that we have seen them before they're fitted, and that we know exactly what's being fitted, and they can't go and get something else. That's where I'm coming from.
So if I ask Claire just to outline the decision that's been made, because there's all five, we're all agreed, and just Robert, just to remind us what he thinks is an appropriate condition. After I'll ask Claire first, and then yourself, Robert. Then that should be just what us. Claire.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The LRB is looking to basically reverse the decision of the appointed officer and grant the planning permission for the replacement of 8 sash and case timber windows and 8 UPVC double glazed sash and case windows at 64 Main Street, Isle of Whithorn, as we feel that the UPVC windows would be sympathetic in appearance to both the building and the area, and you'd be looking to apply a condition, as outlined by Robert, that prior to commencement of the work, the physical sample is submitted to the planning authority for agreement. It's also noted from the papers that there's an expectation that they'll be able to replicate the existing windows in like-for-like dimensions.
As near like for like as it could possibly be. And Robert just got to outline what the condition, and we can absolutely be clear on that.
I think it's, if you like, it's a 3-part condition. The first part would be that prior to the commencement of works on site, a sample of the window type to be installed shall be submitted for approval in writing by the Council's planning authority. So that's the first part. Then the second part is following agreement in writing with the Council's planning authority. So once you've reached that stage, the said window shall be installed at the property in accordance with those details. So then you're actually getting the sample installed at the property. And then thirdly, just the guidance. I think you need to give them guidance. For the avoidance of doubt, the proposed window type shall match the existing windows at the property as closely as possible in terms of features and dimensions. So then they've got a clear steer on what it is they've to produce, so it should reduce the risk of producing something that then won't be agreed in writing.
I think that's reasonable. It's not too onerous. Jim?
Chair, would you wish to specify the type of window system? It states here, Genesis Heritage Sliding Sash and Case on page 517.
My only concern with that is it might be unreasonable in the sense that you're specifying one particular product type when you might have maybe half a dozen different product types that would fit the bill.
You could add or similar.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. We could copy that, that could be added to the last part of the condition. Yeah. Okay.
That's usually, isn't it? As or similar, you'd normally see that. Doug?
Thanks, Chair. It might have been handy if we'd had some colour photographs, then we might have cut to the chase. Thank you.
That's further written submissions next. Okay, so we're quite clear in the decision that we made. As far as I'm aware, no further business. You got everything, Robert, you need to be captured, and you, Claire? Excellent, thanks very much. No further business. Thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you, Chair.